with no regard for human life.
Deshaun Jackson gets a block. Are you kidding?
And a steal. Miller retreats to the three-point line and hits again.
Pajero! Oh, you beauty! What a headshot! What a head!
Welcome to the No Regard podcast. This is Nathan Bleakley.
I'm Marcelo Lucha.
Alright, week 4. Let's hop straight into it.
Big week of sports this week, man. We've got a lot to talk about.
But let's start off with stuff that's going on right now. The NBA playoffs currently in the middle of the first round. A lot of series going on. We'll break down everyone for you guys.
Right, so we just watched Milwaukee win on a buzzer-beating layup against Chicago to take one game. What were your thoughts?
You like to hit me right in the feels, don't you, Marcelo?
Hey, man,
as a Bulls fan, you really do.
Let's just get it out of the way.
Alright, let's talk about the Bulls-Bucks series then, as you said. Yep. Currently the Bulls are up 3-1. As you said, Milwaukee in their last home game of the first opening games, they took the win on a buzzer beater from Jared Bayless. The Bucks are playing really good defense. I really like them as a young team. I think they will be up there in the next 2-3 years, hopefully contending for an Eastern Conference title, but it won't be this series. The Bulls are going back home for Game 5, and they will take it out in Game 5. Jimmy Butler. Let's just talk about Jimmy Butler in the series, man.
Oh my goodness. How many? He dropped like 33 points this game?
And he dropped 24 the game before and 31 the game before that.
Right,
he's playing out of his skin.
He's the best player on the Bulls roster right now.
He's the best player in that series. And the thing is that Jimmy Butler's an amazing two-way player. He's not only the best offensive player in that series right now, you can probably call him the best defensive player in that series right now too.
Yeah, and that's with big players like Noah and Giannis Antetokounmpo as well, who play really good defense.
Oh yeah, Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Greek freak, is still only 20 years old.
Yeah.
So he's huge. I reckon he'll be an all-star. He has a huge future in this league. But look, as promising the Bucks are, as good as a coach as Jason Kidd has proved himself to be for the Bucks, it's not this series. Bulls take it at home in Game 5. The Bulls win in 5.
I completely agree. But let's stay in the East. You want to talk about Atlanta, Brooklyn? I mean,
I
Brooklyn
do.
picked up a game.
Yeah, I picked him for the sweep. Brooklyn did pick up a game, which was, it was for their dignity, really. As I said last week, I really think Brooklyn doesn't deserve to be here, and they don't really look like they want to be here. I reckon, as with the Bulls, Atlanta goes home and takes it in 5 games. They're too well coached, and there's too many all-stars on that team for them not to take it out within the next game.
Right, and just touching on Brooklyn, I mean, the smarter thing to do would have just been to tank, right?
Well, not necessarily, actually, because the thing is with their draft pick that they have, it's getting swapped with Atlanta.
Right.
So what's happening with that draft pick? They're going to have to pick in the last picks of the draft anyway. So they'll be, I think, pick 28 because of where Atlanta's at, pick 28, 29. So the only reason to tank there would be no reason to tank because they're giving it to Atlanta. The higher they finish,
right,
the higher Atlanta have to draft, and it's harder for them to draft. So it's good on them for making the playoffs. I think there's too much on their payroll for them not to try and make the playoffs. But I reckon they should take that team apart and restart again. They're one of those teams that's good, but it won't be able to take it to the next level with the roster that they have.
Right, so I mean, that's what I was going to ask you, if they should just take it apart, because I really don't see much potential in the future.
Joe Johnson and Darren Williams and Brook Lopez, all good players in their own right, but they'd be better players in better systems with better coaches.
Right.
And together they're not a big three, and they won't be able to take this team to the next level. No, I think with how much invested in Brooklyn Nets, they should be competing for a championship, and they won't be able to do it with this core group of guys. So they should reinvest the money. They won't be able to do it straight away, but once these contracts expire, they should go for new players.
Okay. Cleveland Celtics. I mean, I had them winning 2 games. The Celtics, that is. I don't think that's going to happen now. I mean, if you think about it, I reckon they're going to sweep.
Well, yeah, the last game comes up tomorrow. Look, it's just a case of Cleveland being too talented.
Yep.
Look, we love the story of these Celtics, how they came up, hardly any talent in them compared to the rest of the teams in the playoffs, and Brad Stevens just putting on a coaching masterclass. But look, I don't see this team. I see them getting swept.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much to say. You got one of the best teams in the league going
with the
against
best
one
player.
of the worst. Yeah.
I think LeBron's too professional and he'll take out Game 4. GM of the year, LeBron James.
Washington, Toronto.
Now, one of us picked Toronto, one of us picked Washington.
I picked Washington.
Yeah, right.
let's just get that out of the way.
All right. So, having picked Washington myself, look, they're up 3 games without home court advantage. They're playing at home in Game 4. A 4-5 shouldn't be a sweep, but it looks like it's going to be. And look, I was watching the Game 3 yesterday. It was just, the truth was brought to Toronto. The truth brought it. Paul Pierce.
I mean, Paul Pierce will always be able to break down defenders.
Yeah, exactly. And he did it in a clutch. 2 big 3-point daggers. I mean, John Wall's playing an incredible series as a true point guard. I think he got 17 assists and 14 assists 2 games in a row. Bradley Beal's playing really well. Gortat is crazy at center. Look, I think they're going to go into the next series with a sweep, with plenty of momentum to play Atlanta. And I reckon that Atlanta-Washington series will be one to watch.
Right, because, yeah, I can't see Toronto winning Game 4. I think that's a sweep for Washington, but...
It's a learning curve for Toronto.
I mean, if it's Atlanta-Washington the next round, I reckon Washington can take that. But we'll talk about that in a later pod, because we really
it'll
don't
just
know.
be all Paul Pierce, man. Paul Pierce. Let's hop over to the East. Sorry, pardon me, the West. Golden State, New Orleans Pelicans.
Sweep.
Sweep?
Yep.
Currently the game's being played right now, so we'll see if that call comes off. But I just want to talk about that Game 3, man. Like, New Orleans...
Oh my god, 20 points up in the fourth quarter.
Just fell apart. And obviously Curry hit probably the shot of the playoffs so far.
Right.
With a huge game-winning 3, game-tying 3, to send it to OT. It's disappointing for New Orleans, but as we've acknowledged before, they're a young team with Anthony Davis. Just he needs playoffs experience. I want to mention that Michael Jordan also got swept in his first playoffs. Not that I can put them on
comparing them?
I think Anthony Davis has the potential to be the best player in the game right now. But, I'm just saying that not necessarily in the first playoffs outing. This is all about experience for a young team.
It's a learning curve.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I mean, you can't... Even if he doesn't go deep into the playoffs, it'll still be
And he's
a
not
good
going
thing.
to. I think that Golden State team is just brilliant. They will at least at minimum get to the conference finals. But I see them going a lot further than that.
Right.
Houston, Dallas.
I mean, Dallas has let me down so much. Rondo's let me down.
Playoff
Parsons
Rondo?
is injured. I mean, Nowitzki isn't doing anything. Tyson Chandler's getting dunked on. I mean, nothing's going right for Dallas.
And I think that's just the nature of Houston's bench being absolutely brilliant throughout this series.
Josh Smith has been going off.
Yeah, exactly.
He's been playing really well.
Game 2 was crazy because Josh Smith just channeled Steve Nash and started throwing lobs to everyone.
Yep.
And look, I personally thought Houston would win this series just because of who their starters were, James Harden and Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard, by his nature, has been brilliant in this series, and James Harden dropped 42 last game. But look, this series is over, in my opinion.
Yep.
This is a sweep.
Yep.
Dallas is giving it a strong fight, but worst comes to worst, this doesn't go past 5 games. This Houston team is looking like a 2 seed, and they'll be playing the Spurs next round or the Clippers, and that'll be a very competitive series, a much more competitive series than we thought it would be, by nature of Houston playing as a well-rounded team. And the thing I want to mention is that Mark Cuban came out before this, the Dallas Mavericks owner, came out and said that Houston wasn't a very good team beyond James Harden.
Yeah, but I mean, Mark Cuban's always been outspoken, you know?
Yeah.
You want to get in the head of the other team. He's just doing what he can, honestly.
Yeah, it's disappointing for Rondo. It'll be interesting where he ends up because, look, Rick Carlisle's come and said he's not coming back to the Dallas Mavericks.
No, he's not.
He needs to be in a system where his attitude can be improved.
Yeah, well, he just needs to be in control.
He needs to be in control of the offense. I think the team should have made more of an effort to fit in with Rondo as well.
Yep.
But then again, look, they were doing great before Rondo rocked up. It's something that's unfortunate, and I thought this Dallas team would be better than it was this season, but what can you do?
Yeah, I mean, these things happen. There's always a team that disappoints. In the East, we had Toronto, and in the West, it's Dallas.
It definitely does. Let's move on to probably the most exciting series so far.
So
Clippers and
Spurs.
Spurs.
All right, who'd you pick to win this series?
I did pick the Clippers, and I'm still standing by my pick. But
Right, so I picked the Spurs, and they've picked up the last 2 games. I reckon Spurs can win this in 7.
Look, I just want to mention with the Spurs too, like Game 2 was a huge OT thriller, probably one of the best games I've seen in a while. Tim Duncan just throwing it back, throwing it back to the early days. Like, he turned 39 today. Mm-hmm. He turned 39. What can you say? One of the greatest of all time, just still doing his thing. And then Game 3 was the Kawhi show. Right. Kawhi Leonard throwing up 32 points with some crazy plays. Just won Defensive Player of the Year, but showing he can do it on offense as well.
Right. I mean, yeah. Let's move on though, because the Clippers Spurs game will play itself out. There's not much we can say. It's so even.
Where does this series go from here? Because now I think Spurs have taken the home court advantage back. Where do you see it going from here?
I reckon Spurs will win the next game. Clippers will pull it back. Wow, I could even get the Spurs winning in 6, to be honest.
I wanna still say the Clippers can win in 7.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that would stop them is that, look, they're riding the starters too hard because they don't have a bench.
Right.
And I think it's still more likely that the Spurs will win, although I'd like the Clippers to win. But yeah, their bench is just not there, and they're playing a very exhausting defensive game with just their starters, and it's crept up on them in these last 2 games, and I can't see it turning around too quickly in this next game. So yeah, I think Spurs will go 3-1 up, and then we'll just see where it goes from there.
Right, and to your point, the longer this series drags out, the better it is for the Spurs.
Yeah, just because they've had some good bench players as well. Dior and Mills especially, last game played really well.
Yep.
All right, let's go to the last game.
Memphis, Portland.
I picked Portland, and I regret that pick significantly.
Right, I mean, okay, so we all thought that Damian Lillard would play at the same level he did in the last playoffs, and maybe that was a mistake.
Until he took up his new occupation as a bricklayer.
Right.
At the rim, look, Damian Lillard's playing a bit of hero ball. It's LaMarcus and Damian Lillard, but look, they just don't have it as a supporting cast at the moment, which is hard to watch. Memphis just too big, too strong. Playing some grinded out basketball. Look, Marcus Gasol's been the best center in the NBA this year. Zach Randolph's just punishing LaMarcus Aldridge this series.
Right. That's kind of what we predicted last week, right? That LaMarcus would get beat up.
Yeah.
So,
and look, it's gone 2-0 at Grindhouse. I can see Portland getting a game back just off Lillard or LaMarcus having a big game. But yeah, it's probably going to be Memphis in 5.
Yeah, Memphis in 5. I agree.
All right. But that's our picks for the NBA playoffs. Look, there's going to be some interesting games next round, I reckon, definitely. Like, right now, it's probably set up for a strong Golden State and Memphis game, which would be very interesting. Houston, and then whoever wins out of the Clippers and the Spurs.
Yep.
I reckon that. The West series are great. Atlanta and Washington, which I think is one of the more intriguing series. Because, look, both teams are up 3 games, and no team's ever come back from 3-0 down. I think we got to mention that.
Right.
Every series in the East has been 3-0 up at one point. So, those are pretty much set. It'll be Cavs and Bulls. I reckon that's a series to watch in the second round.
Yep. I have the Bulls on that. Just gonna throw that out there.
I'm a Bulls fan, and I reckon I still I want to say the Bulls in 7.
Right.
But look, LeBron's on a mission this season,
yeah,
man, so it'll be very interesting to see where these playoffs go. Let's keep it in American sports. There's a big event coming up the next week. What's that big event again, Marcelo?
Maybe the NFL draft coming up.
Oh my god. The NFL draft.
So NFL draft on Thursday. This is the future, right?
Yeah, and I think the thing with sports now, we love talking about free agents, we love talking about the draft, we love talking about a brighter future for every one of our teams.
It's what could be.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
It's all about hope, and you've got to have hope in sports, even though we've noted today that I am the most depressing Bulls fan in the history of the world.
You got no hope in the Bulls, man. No.
Yeah, come on, man. I'm realistic. Someone's going to break their leg.
Oh my goodness, you had to say it. Right, okay.
All right. Let's move on to the draft. So let's get right into it. The number 1 pick, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So it's pretty consensus, like, who's going to be picked first in this draft.
Right, I mean, some experts say that they might trade down. But what we'll do here is we'll go through the first round. We'll give you the 32 picks, and then we'll discuss from there. But we'll just do that without like any trades.
So this
right?
is our mock draft, the first round of the NFL draft.
Yeah, so no trades. No trades.
trades.
That's the most important thing.
No trades.
No
It
trades.
stays as it is, but obviously once we get to the draft, we know that's not true.
Right, exactly.
So this is it as it stands right now.
So pick one, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's Jameis Winston. It's got to be Jameis.
Quarterbacks win games.
Exactly.
Quarterbacks are they run the team.
Right. Yeah, we'll try and run through this quickly, but Vincent Jackson and Mike Evans are two huge targets for Jameis Winston. He's not going to have any excuses getting that ball out. If Doug Martin can come back to form and play like he did in his rookie year, they'll have a legit running game. So I think that offense can really play well in that division. We've got Carolina Panthers, New Orleans Saints, and the Falcons, who those three defenses, apart from Carolina, are struggling. So they need to put points up.
So hopefully a new change of days for the Bucks. Some better days ahead.
Yeah.
So the Tennessee Titans are pick number 2.
Right, so I originally had Marcus Mariota going here, but now I've got Leonard Williams. I mean, he's the best defensive lineman in this draft, easily. And I believe in Zach Mettenberger, their current quarterback, and there's been a lot of players from the Titans come out say that they're proud of the quarterback, that they're happy with him, and they believe in him. So I don't think taking Mariota here is the right step.
And that's what you got to have. You got to have teammates backing in the young talent as well. Gives it a lot of confidence to their game too.
Exactly.
All right, pick number 3, the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Okay, so the Jags got their quarterback last year. Blake Bortles, he's been playing out of his mind. I reckon they take Dante Fowler Jr., who's the best linebacker in this draft. They need to shore up that defense, and he's the man to take them further.
Best offense is a good defense. Pick number 4, Oakland Raiders.
Okay, so again, same with Jaguars. The Oakland Raiders have their quarterback, Derek Carr, but what they need is targets. So they're going to take the best wide receiver in the draft, in my opinion, is Kevin White. He reminds me of Julio Jones. He can go up and make all the catches, run after the catch, does everything well. So I think they take Kevin White here, not Amari Cooper, simply based on production.
Jeez, you got Marcus Mariota slipping out of the top 4.
Yep, he's going to keep slipping too.
Pick number 5, the Washington Redskins.
I think here Shane Ray at defensive end out of Missouri is just too good not to pass up. I mean, they need to shore up their defense, especially playing in the NFC East where Dallas, Philadelphia, Giants are going to have a really good offense this season. I think they pick Shane Ray here.
Brilliant. All right. Pick number 6, the New York Jets.
Marcus Mariota.
All right.
Right. Because, I mean, okay, they got Geno Smith. That project failed. Okay. It's gone, right? Michael Vick came in. They tried to play with him. No. All right. So they've got Brandon Marshall at receiver, Percy Harvin at receiver. I think bringing in Marcus Mariota is going to make that offense good. And the defense is legit. I mean, Sheldon Richardson is one of the best young defensive ends in the country.
For sure. Do you feel like New York is the best place for a young player, though?
No.
No way.
No, but the Jets are. I reckon the Jets are going to pick him because they need him. Right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if I had it my way, I'd hope Marcus Mariota would go second to the Titans.
Yeah.
It's a small market team.
And you feel like on small market teams, players develop better. There's less distractions. There's less places to spend your money.
Exactly.
Everything like that. All right, pick 7, the Chicago Bears.
So they just got rid of Brandon Marshall. They're going to have to stick it out with Jay Cutler because they just paid him way too much money, right? They've got Alshon Jeffrey, Matt Forte. I think they need another receiver, and here Amari Cooper is too good to pass up. They'll take Amari Cooper with pick 7 in the draft. They'll shore up the offense. And let's just hope that they can get the defense sorted in the later rounds.
All right, pick number 8, the Atlanta Falcons.
So the Falcons got a lot of improving to do, but I think that offense can be okay. It can be decent, but on the defense, I think Bud Dupree, linebacker, too good not to take here. It's an easy pick for me. There's
points in the draft where you just have to pick the best player.
Exactly,
available.
He's the best player available on the defense, so they have to take him.
All right, pick number 9, the New York Giants.
This might surprise some people, but I've actually got Brandon Scherf, guard, going to be playing for the New York Giants next season because Eli Manning was sacked so much this past season. They're going to need to shore up the offense. They got Rashad Jennings at running back who can run the ball like an animal. Victor Cruz, I'm sure you've heard of Odell Beckham Jr.'s catch, like one of the greatest ever.
Yeah.
Ruben Randall is the third receiver. I mean, that offense will be good, but they need to protect Eli Manning, and that's how they're going to do it.
They wish it was Peyton Manning.
Well, I don't know about that. I think that's a discussion for another day. Eli Peyton, I mean, I might put Eli over him, to be honest. Moving on.
Big call.
Moving on.
All right. Number 10, the St. Louis Rams.
Okay, so I reckon they're going to take Andrus Peat, offensive tackle out of Stanford. They're going to have to protect Nick Foles. Nick Foles has been banged up with the Eagles a few times, and I think they'll be okay. St. Louis is a good team. With this pick, they'll shore up the offense, protect the quarterback, so he can get the throws out.
Fair enough. The number 12, the Cleveland Browns.
So number 12.
Do you need to draft anyone?
Whoa, did you just skip Minnesota?
I might have actually. The Minnesota Vikings.
Yo, you're throwing shade on Minnesota already, man.
Pick 11, the Minnesota Vikings.
So the Minnesota Vikings.
Totally not intentional.
With the 11th pick, they're going to take the best cornerback in the draft, which in my opinion is Trey Waynes. So Trey Waynes can do everything. He can cover, he can tackle. He's an explosive player. I couldn't think of an NFL comparison, but at corner, he's probably the best prospect I've seen in a few years. So I think the Vikings take him, shore up the coverage on the defense.
Awesome. Okay, now the Cleveland Browns at number 12.
Now the Browns are the first of 2 picks. I think they'll take Danny Shelton at nose tackle.
Okay.
Simple pick. Shore up the nose tackle position, run stuffer. He can even get in between the lines, get a sack. So I think that's an easy pick.
No worries. The New Orleans Saints at number 13.
So the name that's dropped in this draft is Vic Beasley. I mean, he could have been a top 10 pick for me, and he's dropped all the way to Saints at 13. They'll take him, linebacker out of Clemson, great player, gets everywhere on the field, needs to shore up his speed a little bit to contend with NFL receivers, but I think he'll be a good player for the Saints.
All right, let's move to Florida at number 14, the Miami Dolphins.
So I've got the second-ranked cornerback, Jalen Collins, going to Miami. They're going to need to fill up the spot that Cortland Finnegan was in, who he just retired. I think the Miami offense is good enough to be on its own. I believe in Ryan Tannehill, no Sean Moreno at running back. They just signed Greg Jennings as well at receiver. So I think if they shore up the coverage on the defense, the secondary, they'll be a very good team, and they might even give the New England Patriots some troubles this year, but we'll have to see how the draft plays out in the later rounds.
Jeez. I think we have some people that'll be happy to hear that, definitely.
Right.
Number 15, the San Francisco 49ers.
So, I mean, the 49ers have so many holes. I mean, it just seems like half their team's retired and half their team's injured. Okay, offensively, it's a mess. They let go of Frank Gore. And defensively, it's even worse. They just lost Patrick Willis, the captain of the defense, and his backup, Chris Borland. So right now, I think they have to take a defensive player. They're going to take cornerback Kevin Johnson, who's my third-ranked cornerback. He'll shore up. He can play one-on-one. He'll just take the best receiver out of the game most of the time. So I think Kevin Johnson's a great pick. If he falls to 15, that's a steal.
For sure. Number 16, the Houston Texans.
I mean, the big story here is they just lost Andre Johnson, right? Going to Indianapolis, playing with Andrew Luck. So now, what are the targets? You got DeAndre Hopkins, Arian Foster on offense, and that's pretty much it. Right, so I think they're going to have to take a receiver here. Devontae Parker is the next best wide receiver in the draft. They'll take him at 16. At 16. I think that's a great pick at 16.
Just a question, how much impact do you see these guys making their first season?
So,
is there any guys you see standing out so far out of the first half of the first round that really will make an impact in their first year?
To be honest, I think Trey Waynes could be a top 10 cornerback in the league.
Jeez.
in his first year. Like, he could be rookie of the year. I think Melvin Gordon could also be rookie of the year, but we'll talk about him later. Devontae Parker for the Texans could be huge as well, because the receivers in this draft are really, really good. It's a really deep receiver class, and it's a really deep cornerback class as well.
Awesome. And as you said, it's all about opportunity, especially for the quarterbacks. If they get enough opportunity running the offense, they could burst out as stars in the league.
Exactly.
First season. All right, let's move on to the second half. Number 17, the San Diego Chargers, pardon me.
So I think the San Diego Chargers are going to have to protect Phillip Rivers. I know there's talk of him leaving, but even if he does leave, the Chargers are going to have to fill the void with a quarterback. So there's always going to be a quarterback in San Diego, all right? It's not like even if Phillip Rivers leaves, there's always going to be someone to fill his spot, and they have to protect him. They're going to have to take TJ Clemmings out of Pittsburgh. He's a tackle, probably the best tackle available, apart from Lael Collins. He can do everything. You can put him in the left, you can put him at right, maybe with a bit more practice he can play on the right. So I think protecting the quarterback in San Diego is probably the most important thing right now.
Number 18, the Kansas City Chiefs.
Right, so speaking of La'el Collins, I think he goes here. So tackle out of LSU. They're going to need to protect Alex Smith, and this is going to be great for Jamal Charles if La'el Collins goes to Kansas City because he's just going to open up the holes. And Jamal Charles is going to have another sick year if they take some guards early in the first round.
Good point. Okay, number 19, the Cleveland Browns again. They've traded in.
Right, so here I've got them taking Eric Armstead. And that might be surprising, defensive lineman out of Oregon. But I think you chuck in Danny Shelton and Eric Armstead on that defensive line, and it's game over for runners against Cleveland. And Cleveland's always been good against the run, but you put those two players in there, that's going to be amazing. Amazing. Joe Hayden in the secondary, that defense is going to be ridiculously good. It's just how well their offense is going to shape up.
Any sports, defense wins games
exactly.
when it's on that level.
Exactly.
Number 20, Philadelphia Eagles.
So, Philadelphia Eagles, my team. Right. I mean, there's so much love.
We're gonna hit you where you live.
I mean, if it was up to me, we would take
Jameis Winston.
I don't think we'd take Jameis Winston. I think I would rather take Amari Cooper. But
yeah,
here
unfortunately,
we'll take the
20.
Exactly. I mean, unfortunately, right? We've got the 20th pick. Here, I think we'll take Jalen Strong. He's the next best wide receiver available. We've really only got Jordan Matthews, Riley Cooper as receivers. I can't even remember the name of our tight end. We've got DeMarco Murray running the ball. Currently, we have Sam Bradford at quarterback. So I think Sam Bradford is going to need more targets than just Jordan Matthews. I don't really believe in Riley Cooper. So I think Jalen Strong can come in here and be a legitimate number one.
Brilliant. All right. Number 21, the Cincinnati Bengals.
Okay, so I'm in love with Landon Collins. And I reckon, he's the best safety in this draft, but he's a strong safety. So he comes in, makes all the really, really strong tackles against the run. He's very, very suspect in coverage though, so that's where I think the Bengals could suffer a bit. But this guy is fun to watch. He comes in and he just makes the big challenges. He reminds me of Cam Chancellor.
All right, number 22, the Pittsburgh Steelers.
So here, this is a pretty straightforward pick. Linebacker out of Nebraska.
Well, as straightforward as they get it.
Yeah,
number 22.
Yeah, Randy Gregory. I mean, he's dropped so much in this draft. He's just the best player available. Pittsburgh Steelers will make him a great player, and they're going to have to shore up the defense now that Polamalu's left.
All right, number 23, the Detroit Lions.
So I've got Todd Gurley going to the Lions, and that's going to be huge because I know that the Detroit Lions defense has suffered a bit. They've just lost Ndamukong Suh, Nick Fairley, and I know they've still got Ezekiel Ansah on that defensive line, but they still need to work on that in the later rounds of the draft. But I think you put Todd Gurley in there. You got Matt Stafford at quarterback who can sling it. Calvin Johnson, the best wide receiver in the league. Still the best wide receiver in the league. Don't give me none of that Des Bryant nonsense. I reckon this Detroit team could run over people. Todd Gurley is a beast, and I believe in him. I think he'll recover well from his ACL injury.
Awesome. Number 24, the Arizona Cardinals.
I've got Eddie Goldman, defensive tackle out of Florida State, going to the Cardinals. This is pretty straightforward again. I mean, I think he can back up Calais Campbell if he indeed stays. I mean, the Cardinals are going to have to move some things around, but they've got a really, really good chance of making the Super Bowl this year, and I think Eddie Goldman can only help them.
Awesome. Okay. Number 25, the Carolina Panthers.
So Carolina's another team with a lot of holes, right? So the defense is very good, but offensively, they could have... I had them originally taking Todd Gurley. I had them dropping, but I think Detroit will take Todd Gurley. So I think the next best option here is taking Brashad Perriman, who's the next best receiver in the draft. You need to give Cam Newton some options. He's just got no one to throw to right now, apart from Kelvin Benjamin.
All right, as we move up into the last picks of the draft, and probably the cream of the league, number 26, the Baltimore Ravens.
Right, so like you said, the cream of the league. I mean, these are the best teams in the league, and they're obviously getting the worst players out of the first round, but there's still some great
It's still about
additions
picking smart, especially as you get lower down the draft.
Exactly. Right, so the Baltimore Ravens here, they're going to have to take DJ Humphries. I mean, they need to protect Joe Flacco. They've already paid him a ton of money, which he deserved because he won a Super Bowl. But if they get DJ Humphries, shore up the offensive line, he's a good tackle out of Florida. He'll do everything well, and if they can get a running back in there to help Joe Flacco in a running game, I think he'll open up some holes for the runner.
All right. Pick number 27, The future Super Bowl winners in a few years, according to you last week, the Dallas Cowboys.
I mean, Tony Romo said they'd win a Super Bowl this coming year. I don't think it's going to be that soon, but I think they will win a Super Bowl soon, and here they're going to take Melvin Gordon. They have the best offensive line in the league, and Melvin Gordon might be the best running back in the league behind Todd Gurley. So you slot Gordon in there, you've still got Des Bryant, you've still got Terrence Williams, you've still got Cole Beasley, Tony Romo, obviously a fighter, and that defense is only going to get better with the later rounds in this draft. So Melvin Gordon's going to run all over the NFC East, which sucks for my Philadelphia Eagles because we're not going to be able to stop him.
All right, pick number 28, the Denver Broncos.
Pretty straightforward pick again. You're going to have to protect Peyton Manning if you're going to go with him another season. Tackle out of Miami. Pretty much protect Peyton, make holes for the runner. Same as always. Good offensive lineman to take in the first round.
Easy. Number 29, the Indiana Colts.
So, I'm so torn here because they're going to have to protect Andrew Luck. But Jordan Phillips at 29 might be the biggest steal in this whole draft. I think he can slot in right there, start day one at nose tackle for the Indianapolis Colts. It'll help with their run defense, which struggled a little bit. I know their coverage in the secondary is really good with Vontae Davis. So if they can get some run defense help, that'll be awesome for Andrew Luck. It'll create more turnovers, and it'll let the big boy with the big beard do his work.
All right, pick number 30, the Green Bay Packers.
He might not be the best player on the board, but I've got the Green Bay Packers picking Eric Kendricks because this is going to take Clay Matthews on the outside. So Clay Matthews has been playing inside linebacker. You draft Eric Kendricks, he'll play there. Clay Matthews will be out. He can sack the quarterback, get the runs on the outside spreads. He'll be fine there. I think he can slot in. That's a very smart pick for Green Bay.
All right, pick number 31, the New Orleans Saints again.
So this is another steal here. I think the New Orleans Saints get Marcus Peters, who is a great cornerback. Great. I mean, this guy, he's had issues, not off the field, but with his coaches.
Okay.
Which is something that might hurt his draft stock. That's why I've got him going so low. But physically, he's one of the most talented players. He reminds me a lot of Tyrann Mathieu at his last year at LSU. So I think this is a huge steal for the New Orleans Saints. Marcus Peters goes at 31.
All right, and the last pick of the first round, the Super Bowl champs, the New England Patriots.
They're gonna take Dorial Green-Beckham, 6'6" receiver. They're gonna coach him up to be the next Randy Moss. I mean, Tom Brady's gonna have a huge target on top of Gronkowski. This is a great pick. He could really go in the top 20 picks. But if he falls to the New England Patriots, that's a steal, and they're gonna make him a superstar.
Well, that was a really informative mock draft. So I feel like my NFL knowledge just has increased 100-fold.
We tried to zoom through it because we got a lot to talk about this
exactly.
week.
We're not going to do the whole 7 rounds.
No way.
No way. But yeah, we appreciate you dropping knowledge on that, Marcelo. But yeah, we'll move right back to Australia after that huge NFL mock draft. It's been a pretty special round in the AFL, probably the most significant round besides actual finals football.
Right, so the Anzac Day Round, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So how'd it go, man? Drop some knowledge.
I reckon out of every sport in Australia, obviously the NRL do a great job, the A-League do a brilliant job as well, but I feel like the AFL has really implanted a great tradition with their Anzac Day matches. They commemorate it so well at the MCG. It's such a huge part of football in Australia. Obviously, Anzac Day is bigger than football. It's bigger than a lot of things.
It's a very emotional time in Australia.
It's a very emotional time, and I felt the centenary yesterday was a huge part of Australia, and they really showed up at all the dawn services around Australia. I mean, 50,000 at Currumbin, 120,000 at the War Memorial.
Yep.
It's really inspiring to see it as an Australian.
And it shows how thankful we are as a nation for those that gave what they did.
Exactly. Like, they fought so we didn't have to.
Exactly.
Lest we forget. Okay, so the Anzac Day round in AFL, obviously the biggest match besides the grand final. They get about 100,000 at this game. Collingwood and Essendon in the MCG and the Anzac Day round. Collingwood got their way this year. I mean, it was a low-scoring match, but it shows Collingwood are actually still a premiership level. If not, they might not contend this year, but they're still a team that can win a lot of games. And they still have some leftovers from the premiership team 5 years ago. They're still a team with a lot of pedigree, and they're proving their chops really well. The top of the ladder right now, Fremantle. They played against the Sydney Swans in their Anzac Day game. Freo's won 4 on the trot. They've been really impressive, man.
Right.
Best player in the competition, Nathan Fyfe. And a brilliant midfield. They've been playing great defence, like suffocating defence. And they just gave the Sydney Swans a masterclass yesterday. I wouldn't have picked that win.
Right.
But yeah, the Fremantle on a roll.
Yeah, because the Swans are a good team, right?
Exactly. They're the top 2 team in the AFL usually. But Fremantle's the oldest team in the AFL, and sometimes that experience can translate into a lot of football IQ.
Right.
So they've shown their chops there. The Port Hawks, this was a huge match in the way that Port was holding a 50-point lead for most of the game against the best team in the comp.
Right.
Hawthorn took it back all the way to within 8 points, so it was an absolute thriller. But look, Port, I think they can make the grand final this year. They're a young team that's still getting a lot of experience, but that core group of young players with like Hamish Hartlett, Chad Wingard, Robbie Gray, Travis Boak as their captain, Jay Schultz as their main key forward, like that's a strong team right there. And look, they're very exciting in how they play. Look, Port Adelaide showed a lot of grit yesterday. I reckon this can really get their season started in terms of a good run.
Right. And it's not too late to get started, right?
Of course not. 4 rounds in. There's 22 games for each team in the AFL. I reckon about halfway through is when you see the ladder really start to form. So it's really just about trying to get the best start that you can at the moment.
Yeah.
Teams that aren't getting the best start that they can. The Queensland teams, man.
Unfortunately.
I've got to do this every week. We talk about AFL, and it's painful.
Right.
Gold Coast went down to GWS, the 2 expansion teams. Look, they got slaughtered by 60 points yesterday. And the thing with... Look, the Brisbane team is less frustrating to me, even though Brisbane is my team, because it's just basic not making the right decisions and not having the cleanest ball skills and everything, and that's fine. But Gold Coast just doesn't look like they want it. They don't look like they're trying as hard as they could. They're not defending well.
Why do you think that is?
Look, I think that they are a little demoralised by Gary Ablett going back out, and maybe because of their coach being fired at the end of last season, undeservedly in my opinion. But they need to be professional. They need to really start giving it a red hot go, because we can take losses, but we can't take low effort from professional footballers, especially. It doesn't show the Queensland way. And
right, and it reflects bad on them as well.
It reflects bad on this football club, who I tipped for finals this year. And look, it makes it hard to watch. I think Gold Coast can still make finals by the skin of their teeth, but they really have to turn it around like next week. Brisbane are playing West Coast today at the Gabba. I'm not sure how that'll turn out. Hopefully they can finally get a win. If they start now, they have the talent to, improve this season.
Right.
But it needs to start now. It needs to start with the older players really setting a strong example and giving it 100%. Yeah, I think that's the 2 things that are stopping the Queensland teams at the moment. Just not giving 100% effort on defence.
Right. Right. And the younger players are going to follow the lead of the experienced players. So at the end of the day, if an experienced player is a good leader, it can only translate well for the team as a whole.
Exactly. It's always going to flow on from them. It's about leading by example, especially in the AFL, where putting your body on the line is so respected. And it's really something I want to see Gold Coast doing within the next week.
Yeah.
Let's keep it within Australia.
Right.
Something that's really far along in the season. The last round this weekend, actually.
Right, so A-League, man. What we're going to do is we're going to look at the elimination finals, right? So that's 3v6, 4v5, how it stands now.
Right now, there's still games to play, and obviously Wellington and Adelaide can still move around. But, look, we're going to start with 3 and 6, Adelaide, Brisbane. The way Adelaide have been playing, and if you saw that Adelaide goal last night, it was reminiscent of some of the greatest runs from halfway that I've ever seen.
Yeah, that was an amazing goal,
especially for the A-League. That was a brilliant goal.
Yep.
I think Adelaide are red hot. No pun intended.
Just a disclaimer: we are both Brisbane Roar fans.
We're huge Brisbane Roar fans, but we're also analysts.
Yeah.
Well, as far as that self-given qualification goes.
To be honest, it's really hard not to say that Adelaide is going to win this.
I have to say Adelaide in this.
And I love Adelaide.
And I love Brisbane more.
Yeah, exactly.
But, yeah, it really... You have to go by form and you have to go by the talent on either team.
Like, the only way I can see Brisbane Roar winning this game is pulling off the classic Brisbane Roar. Like, go down 2-0 at halftime and bring it back to 3-2 in the last 2 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. And I reckon Brisbane Roar is a different entity in finals, especially in the A-League, when it gets to the clutch parts of the game.
Right.
And hopefully that comes through again. But as it stands right now, I pick Adelaide to go through to the semi-final.
Right, and I mean, Brisbane Roar's been improving because they've been moving around Broich, Bratton, Mackay. You know, they're not playing Petratos as much, which is a great thing.
Yeah.
Because Petratos has been suffering in front of goal so much lately. I mean, he shouldn't even be starting. So you put Solizano with Enrique, you put Broich in the middle. I think they can do some damage, but at the end of the day, it's Adelaide.
Yeah, it has to be. And right now we look at Wellington and Melbourne City. Wellington's in better form at the moment.
Yeah.
I like to see Wellington doing what they're doing because they are probably one of the small market teams as far as A-League goes. And it's good to see when those small market teams punch above their weight.
So who wins this?
Wellington, in my opinion, by the skin of their teeth.
I've got Melbourne City winning this game. I think too much star power. You know, I believe in Aaron Moy. We talked about him last week or 2 weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
One of the better midfielders in the league. So it's going to be a really tight game, like you said.
Yeah. And it'll be interesting to see where all that ends up. I still see Melbourne Victory as the best team in the A-League. And Borussia came out this week and said more people should acknowledge the Premier's played as a legitimate achievement rather than...
Right, because if you think about it, it's more of a long-term...
Exactly, and that's the way all the European leagues go.
Exactly.
I think it's by nature of Australia being more of a... We're much more a grand final country.
Yeah.
And the same with America. Look, we respect probably the showing up on the big occasion, the big day. And it is hard... It's just not part of our culture as much.
Right, because performing in the finals is probably the most heralded thing in sports, right?
Exactly. But I reckon we do acknowledge that Melbourne Victory, look, they've secured the Premier's plate.
Yeah.
It's a huge achievement. And look, huge respect to Melbourne Victory for winning it, but it's also going to be showing up in the finals, and I reckon A-League, once you win one, it's on you to win the other.
Yeah.
And I still pick Melbourne Victory to win the other.
Right. I mean, I disagree with you. I think Sydney is the best team. I know, like, they struggled at the start of the season. That's why they dropped points. But they are playing so well with Mark Yanko.
Yeah.
It is ridiculous to see how well these guys are playing.
What a goal-scoring explosion this season, too.
Yeah. Even scoring on the international level.
Exactly.
For Austria or whatever country it is, man.
And it's always awesome to see when A-League players are selected for their international teams.
Exactly.
It really brings the credentials of the league up, which is what we've always wanted. Like, It's really in the best place it's been.
Oh, yeah.
Would you say ever?
Yes. And it's going in the right direction too.
And I reckon it did start off with maybe that marquee experiment with Del Piero and everything, but now I reckon the league's standing up on its own leg. It's like, look, we could do marquee players, but now we have strong young talent in the league.
Exactly.
And we're standing up on that. We're not standing up on buying. We're not a retirement league.
Right.
We are a league that can stand up on its own two legs, and I really am respecting that.
Yeah, I mean, we've got some of the best Asian players in the A-League, and most of the players that start for the A-League teams could go to another Asian country and start there as well, like in the Japanese or in the K-League. Really
like seeing where the A-League's going.
Yep.
Speaking of going to other places with football, let's jump over to Europe again.
So, Champions League ties, man.
Who predicted Bayern would come back from the loss against Porto? Was it us?
Maybe
sure
it was the No Regard podcast. I think so, yeah.
I think, we're just fortune tellers here, Marcel.
Yeah.
We can't say it. Nah. We all knew Bayern would come up big at home. I don't know if we all predicted 6-1.
That was
big.
a mauling.
That was just complete destruction, as we know Bayern are always potential to do against any team.
Yeah.
And speaking of doing it against any team, I think Barca might still be having nightmares about the last time they played Bayern in the Champions League. Man, that's 7-0.
before we discuss it, let's just see who you think will win. Juventus, Real Madrid. Who comes through? Just say one team and then we'll discuss it.
Real Madrid.
Okay, Barcelona, Bayern.
Barcelona.
Okay, I've got Barcelona and Juve meeting in the finals. So alright, so let's discuss Juventus, Real Madrid first.
Look,
why do you think Madrid goes through?
I think both of us obviously are a Barcelona fan, so this can't be a qualification. But to me, Juventus is my favourite team right now in this. But then again, you've got to be realistic. I think Carlos Ancelotti is still one of the best coaches in Europe, no doubt. And what he has to work with is almost unmatched. It is unmatched anywhere. The depth and the star power on Real Madrid. You look at, I think Ronaldo. Look, no one's ever repeated in the Champions League.
Right.
But they're going to get the opportunity to. They will get the opportunity to show up in this final. Juventus is a brilliant team. I think their midfield there's so much quality in that midfield, and their defense can really shore up when they want to. That defense of Chiellini, Bonucci, all them can really shore up, and I think Pogba is one of the best young players in the whole of the UCL. But I don't see. I think Real Madrid is still too talented. Their attacking star power is still too strong, and they can really shore up the defense when they need to.
Right.
With players like Ramos and Varane. Obviously, their defensive prowess was what got them through against Atletico in the last round.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I see Real Madrid taking this. It's going to be a low-scoring series, but I see Real Madrid taking it 2-1 over the two legs.
2-1 aggregate score?
2-1 aggregate score. It was only 1-0 after the Atletico Madrid series, so I still see this as Juventus will play in a similar way, trying to suck up all the pressure and then play through their midfield to try and get goals.
Right, okay, so I've got Juventus winning 2-2.
2-2 on away goals?
Yeah. I mean, okay, so let me break it down, because I think Tevez is one of the best strikers in the world. Like, I don't care what anyone says. That guy has been consistent for so many years, and he's been pushed around like he's nothing. He is one of the best strikers in the world.
And he's back to his best.
Exactly.
Back to his best.
And it was complete BS what happened with Argentina at the World Cup. He got dropped from the squad. Political issues with the team. It's such a shame to see such a great player be put down like that.
You look at him now and you're like, the question does arise, could he have pushed them over the line in that final?
Exactly, right? Because Aguero played like crap in that final.
Exactly.
Right? And Higuain didn't do anything either.
Yeah, and I think all those Argentina strikers are talented, and you feel like Tevez, the way he's playing now, he can really facilitate for other guys as well. You feel like him and Messi might have...
He's definitely the most aggressive player.
They might have made that Germany-Argentina World Cup final a more interesting and possibly a different result.
Yeah, but just going back to Juventus, I mean, I think that midfield is one of the best in the world with Vidal, Pirlo, and Pogba. As you said, the defense, Chiellini, Bonucci, Buffon, right?
Yeah, Buffon is
one of the best goalkeepers
he's 38 now, and he's still, in my opinion, one of the best goalkeepers.
One of the best goalkeepers ever. I think Juventus can capitalize on Real Madrid's weaknesses, which is the defense. And I know that you said that they can turn up the defense when they choose to, and you're right, they can. But Ramos has been playing centre defensive mid for the past few games. I don't think you can trust Pepe and Varane to keep that centre back lock. So you're going to have to move Ramos back, and then that creates weaknesses in the midfield. They've got way too many attacking options in the midfield, like what's his name, James Rodriguez. They got Cruz, they got Modric. So it is
a top-heavy team. It's a very top-heavy team.
Exactly, and it's going to hurt them. So I really do think Juventus is going to win 2-2 on away goals. That's just how I see it playing out. I can't see Madrid making the final against Juventus. Juventus is the informed team. I've got a feeling, man. It's instinct. Okay. I know the numbers don't back me up, but it's an instinct.
All right. I would like to see Juventus get to the final, but I'm going to pick Real Madrid.
All right.
Okay, let's look to the other series. Barcelona and Bayern Munich.
Oh man, this is it's definitely going to be the toughest series, right?
Yeah.
Probably the more exciting series as well.
Exactly. I feel like both teams are in form offensively. So I feel like this will be a high-scoring series.
So what's your aggregate score?
4-3. Barcelona.
Right. I've got it exactly the same. 4-3 Barcelona.
And the reason I say that is, look, it can go either way this series. Don't think that I think Barcelona will win so emphatically and it's so one-sided. This is a very close series, and we've seen it go either way before.
Yep.
The last time these two teams met, as I mentioned, 7-0 to Bayern Munich.
Right.
So I feel like there is a bit of history there, but I feel like Barcelona is too good of a team to be affected by that.
Right, that front three might be the best in the world with Suarez, Neymar, and Messi.
And you look at the front three as well. You look at the midfield. Iniesta is back in form.
Yep.
Look, there's too much attacking prowess on that team, and I feel like Lionel Messi, the GOAT, will get his team to another Champions League final. Their first in a few years. And in my mind, I reckon it'll be a Clasico final, and probably, if it is a Clasico final, huge things ahead.
That's something to salivate over,
Yeah.
right? But like, I think defensively, Barcelona is been getting much better. You know, PK's in form. He's been playing like the best centre back in the world, in my opinion.
And I reckon like their transfers this year is obviously outside of the Suarez one. The rest of them weren't heralded as much, but the centre back they picked up,
So Jeremy Mathieu, out of
as
Valencia.
well as Ivan Rakitic from Sevilla. Look, those were two inspired low-budget transfers on like as far as Barcelona goes, and they've really improved the team,
Right.
in my opinion.
Right. So yeah, 4-3 Barcelona.
What else can you say?
Let's hope for it.
Let's hope for the Clasico
Yeah, for
final.
my case.
I reckon it'll be huge. Let's stay on the UEFA topic for this week's question of the week, Marcelo. So, you and me were thinking, we were reading around, and apparently the prospect of a UEFA All Star game might be in the works.
Right, and that'd be awesome.
So-
How sick would that be, Nathan?
Now, you look, obviously close comparisons, you look to the sport that does it best, the NBA.
Yep.
NBA does their All Star game. The way they do it is they pick two teams from their Eastern Conference and the Western Conference. So the best 12 players make a roster, and then they play that game as an exhibition game. And it's a really fun thing to watch. No defense really played because it doesn't mean a huge amount, but it's still fun to watch the best players in the league team up.
Yeah.
So we heard this idea was in the works for football, and we got excited.
Right, because the original idea was like putting England, Germany, and Italy, France, Spain together.
They were doing by countries, and me and Marcel were like,
That's stupid.
Let's change it up. There's another way they do this. There's a rookie All-Star game as well in the NBA.
Yep.
And the way they handle that is they get two superstars, two past players of the game, to draft in a snake format the players who they think will play in this All-Star game, their own teams.
Yep.
And me and Marcelo thought, hey, we're two disgruntled former athletes. We count.
Yeah, we can do it.
All right, so we're gonna right now we're gonna draft a team.
Yep.
For this supposed All-Star game out of the best players in Europe.
Right.
So, who wants to go first? It'll be a snake format. So, we're just gonna decide now. Flipping a coin.
Okay, so I'm going first.
You're going first, and then I'll have 2 picks in a row after you. You go 2 picks in a row after me.
Yep.
So, who are you picking with your first pick in this supposed All-Star game? So, by the way, this is a legitimate soccer formation, so we're not going to be picking 5-6 strikers in each team.
Right, so we'll stick to 4-3-3.
4-3-3, the classic formation.
Yep. I think I'll take Mario Balotelli. Nah, I'm kidding. I'll take Lionel Messi here. I mean, it's easy for me.
Yeah, the go. All right. I'm going to stick with the other best player in the world, Cristiano Ronaldo.
Right.
And I'm looking through. I might shore up my midfield a little bit here. I'm going to take the best player in the Premier League at the moment. From my own team, I'm going to take Eden Hazard with my second pick.
Okay. So I'm going to be chucking Messi out on that right wing. I've got 2 picks. Let's see. Who can I put up front? No, you know what? I'm going to take this into the midfield. I'm going to pick up Yaya Toure. I'm going to slot him in at defensive mid.
So why do you pick Yaya Toure, Marcelo?
Because he's a beast. I mean,
straight up beast.
Let's be honest. He's the most dominant midfielder in the world in terms of like his physical traits.
And who you going to take with your third pick?
This is hard. I might have to take... you know what? I'm going to take Wayne Rooney and I'm going to put him in the midfield.
Whoa.
Yep.
Wayne Rooney picked as the supposed 5th best player in Europe. Was that an early pick? We'll see. Now I get my 2 picks in a row. I'm going to stick with another striker. I think I have to go with the Swedish god, Ibrahimovic. And I'm going to shore up my defense a bit. I'm going to take the best goalkeeper on the board available. I'm going to take Manuel Neuer from Bayern Munich.
Well, that gives me a free pick, Nathan. I don't have to worry about goalkeeper till the last pick now. Alright, so I'm going to try and shore up my midfield. Going to be taking... You know what? I'm going to be taking a Chelsea player. It's got to be Francesc Fabregas. He'll finish up my 3-man midfield. So I got Yaya Toure, Rooney, and Fabregas in the midfield.
Mm-hmm.
Now, defensively, I'm going to wait. And I'm going to take Gareth Bale out on the left.
Solid front line so far with Lionel Messi and Gareth Bale picked for my side. Look, I'm going to shore up my front line as well. Look, what he's done last year and what he's currently in the form of doing at Barcelona. I'm going to pick Luis Suarez to give a bit of bite to my front line.
All
right. And then I'm going to start shoring up my midfield a bit too. I think this player, hugely underrated in my opinion, but still one of the best midfielders in the world. I'm going to pick Schweinsteiger from Bayern Munich.
Very underrated midfielder. So since your strikers are done, that also gives me another free pick. All right, so I can wait on a striker. Let's get right into the defense. I'm going to be picking 2 from La Liga, PK, Ramos in the middle. Good luck getting past that defense.
Alright, I better start on my defense because, PK and Ramos are off the board. I'm going to go to some other smaller teams rather than the 2 big Spanish teams. I'm going to go to Mats Hummels.
Ooh, it's a very interesting pick.
And then I'm going to go with, at my other centre-back spot, I'm going to go with Thiago Silva.
Okay.
I reckon he's been off the boil a little bit this season. But I still think he has potential and has been the best centre back in the world. So hugely physical. I reckon that'd be very helpful in an All-Star game.
Okay, so I'm just gonna stay on the theme of defense, and I'm gonna pick Alaba, David Alaba out of Bayern Munich.
Good pick.
At left back, and staying with the defense, I got to take the Brazilian god Dani Alves out at right back.
All right. I'm gonna shore up my midfield here. Just having a look. I reckon, looking at it now, I reckon I need to pick Thomas Muller.
Okay.
World Cup star. What he did in the World Cup, 5 goals. Probably deserved the player of the tournament.
Right.
In my opinion. You got 2 World Cup winners there in the centre. That's huge for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then out at right back, I'm actually going to put Thiago Silva out at my right back.
Okay.
And I'm gonna
fast enough to play there for sure.
Definitely fast enough. And I'm gonna pick a Chelsea legend, and I'm gonna pick John Terry at centre back.
Okay. The experience is gonna be a huge factor.
Yeah, I reckon he'd be the skipper of that team, and he could lead them very well.
Right. Final 2 picks for me: striker and a goalkeeper. At goalkeeper, I'm gonna have to take Courtois. I mean. The best player there, apart from De Gea maybe, but I think Courtois is superior. And at striker, I'm gonna have to go with Aguero.
All right, and I have my last pick now.
Yep.
I'm gonna pick Philip Lahm. Obviously, he's not a left back.
He can definitely play.
He could definitely play either spot. He could even play in the midfield. Look, he's a legend. He's played a lot of games in his Bayern Munich career. One of the best fullbacks of the last however long. He's just been a standout. And I guess that shores up our question of the week, UEFA All Star Team.
Right, so I mean the question is the UEFA All Star game a good idea? Nathan, your answer?
Brilliant idea. I reckon it would be so entertaining to see these players. As a question of when you would play it, I reckon it has to be off season. That's when all these sort of tournaments between teams are played and everything like that.
Right, and it gives the fans something to watch in the off season as
well. Something to look forward to when the games aren't as meaningful.
Right.
So let's read out our teams just in retrospect.
So do you want to go first?
I have a huge front line with Ronaldo, Ibrahimovic and Suarez. All guys there capable of scoring over 30 goals in a season. Just too much firepower. In my midfield, keeping with an attacking theme, I have Hazard and Muller. Mm-hmm. So you have 5 huge goal threats there. And then Schweinsteiger shoring up the midfield.
Right.
And then in my fullback line, I have Philip Lahm and Thiago Silva.
Yep.
Obviously, Thiago Silva not a fullback, but can play there. Centre backs, Mats Hummels and John Terry. And then my goalkeeper, the best in the world, Manuel Neuer.
I can't argue with that. Best
I
in the
like
world.
that team. I reckon I have your team cooked, man.
Ooh, I don't know about that. So, okay. I'll admit, I think my front line's a bit weaker than yours, but the rest of the team's going to do it for me. Okay, so up front, I've got Messi out on the right. You can cut in, shoot. I don't need to explain it. You guys know what I'm talking about. Aguero up front, Gareth Bale on the left. Okay?
Oh.
The speed is going to kill. Now in the middle, Yaya Toure. Enough said. Wayne Rooney. Enough said. Who else did I get? Fabregas. Enough said.
Yeah, so a very creative
and controlling
yeah,
team as well.
Premier League heavy centre line there.
Right. And at the back, PK Ramos in the middle, Alaba out on the left, Dani Alves on the right, and I picked up Thibaut Courtois, goalkeeper. But you know what the interesting thing is, Nathan? Look at the big names that we missed.
Yeah, okay. Let's just go through a few that we missed. David De Gea having a brilliant season for Man United.
Yep.
We didn't pick Chiellini, Varane,
Company.
Diego Godin as well from Atletico.
Yep.
And look at who we didn't pick from.
None of the Juventus midfield. Pirlo, Vidal, Pogba.
Marquisio. We didn't pick Alexis Sanchez, Andres Iniesta.
No Xavi, no Di Maria.
No Marco Reus. We should
no
redo
Alonso.
these picks.
But see, this is the thing. There's always going to be players that are left out.
Yeah, exactly. Neymar not picked either.
Yeah.
And obviously, this is... we want to hear your guys' opinions.
Right.
Whose All-Star team do you think would win?
Yeah, it'll be up on the screen too.
And who did you think we left out?
Right.
Leave that in the comments. Who do you think we should have picked? And whose team do you think would win? And we might actually have a little look who see would win.
Yeah, let's
little FIFA match.
Might have a little FIFA game after the pod. See what's up.
Win.
We'll update you guys on that.
All right, let's head into our and ones for this week. Marcel, you can kick it off with probably a very controversial quarterback at the moment.
So my and one this week is Tim Tebow. I mean, I know the audience doesn't even want to hear it, but I just wanted to address it. They've signed him to no guaranteed money, so obviously the Philadelphia Eagles. He would be the third string quarterback behind Sam Bradford and Mark Sanchez. Okay? I don't know what the hell Chip Kelly's trying to do.
And we've come a long way from Tebow mania.
Exactly. And this isn't this isn't bait for the draft. No one's going to try and take Tebow from us and give us a pick. No one's going to try and take him in a trade. I don't know what we're doing. This might spell the end of a playoff run immediately before they even see the season starts. I like Tim Tebow as a person, and he's got a winning mentality. He's probably one of the biggest quarterbacks we've seen. But the guy just can't throw a spiral. He can't throw the football well. And I know we haven't seen him in 2 years or a year, but how much can you improve without really playing the game at a professional level?
Exactly. You need game conditioning to improve.
Exactly. So, I mean...
we said that about Derrick Rose. His shooting must be so much better because he hasn't been, cutting and that sort of stuff. But, if you're not playing at professional level in any sport, you're not going to get better.
Yeah. So, I mean, the only thing I just wanted to touch on that maybe he'd help is the NFL is really taking a good look at the 2-point conversion. They're going to try and move it up to the goal line, maybe even eliminating the field goal or taking it further out. So if you put Tim Tebow in a 2-point touchdown conversion, he might be unstoppable there because he's so big. He can throw the ball well enough to throw it 3 meters down the field, exactly. So if that's a crucial position on the roster and we want to get him for that, then fine by me. But other than that, I do not understand this move by Chip Kelly.
All right.
What about you, Nathan? What's your and one?
My and one for the week. We've been on a bit of a movie spree the last few and ones. I'm going to keep it that way. Probably the best movie I've seen in a while, the Avengers Age of Ultron. Right. I went and saw that when it opened on Thursday night at the big screen at Victoria Point.
Right. I
had so much fun with this movie. I'm a huge comic book hero fan of anything, Marvel or DC, and I think Marvel does its movies so well because they're hilarious when you go and watch them.
Right. They're really quirky, really quick, quick humor.
Perfect timings on all the jokes. And look, I had a lot of fun with it. And people are saying that there are a lot of comic movies coming up, but for me, that's only a good thing.
It's only a good thing, right?
They get limitless budget for all these things, and
Yep.
it really puts the scale of these things beyond anything we would have expected 10 years ago from comic book movies. I'm having a lot of fun with it, and I thought Avengers Age of Ultron was my favourite movie of the year so far.
Right.
Alright, I think that'll wrap us up for the No Regard podcast for week 4. Like us on Facebook, go subscribe to us on YouTube as well. We have a Twitter account. If you want to hear about all the things that we are spitting on sports, go follow me and Marcelo.
Yeah, it's a big week next week.
Mayweather-Pacquiao. Foreshadowing that. We're going to find a way to watch that and then podcast you guys straight after. Have a great week, guys. I'm Nathan Bleakley.
I'm Marcelo Lucha.
And this is the No Regard podcast.
Thanks, guys.